So home prices have gone through the roof, and now the average American can't even afford a home anymore. These are crazy times that we're living in, guys. So I have a double espresso for this video, piping hot. Let's get into it.
Home affordability, massive problem. Average monthly mortgage payment has jumped from $1,200 pre-pandemic to $2,400 today, a double. Who's to blame? BlackRock, because they scarfed up 44% of homes in 2023. Be careful what you read on the internet, because this isn't even close to the truth. First of all, the large home buyer is Blackstone, not BlackRock. And Blackstone only owns 0.06% of single-family homes. Who's really at fault? The numbers say mom and pop real estate investors. 80% of rental homes are owned by mom and pop investors that only own 1 to 9 properties, whereas the big institutions like Blackstone only own 3%. It's fun to blame the BlackRock and Blackstone boogeyman, but that's not who's buying up all the homes. Don't shoot the messenger, but aren't the real estate gurus on social media messaging that you're an idiot if you don't own rental properties actually more to blame? That's what the numbers tell me. Share this video with those gurus that I'm talking about. I'd love to hear their response.
So that's pretty eye-opening, guys. We've been hearing the whole narrative of BlackRock, Blackstone. It's really been BlackRock. Not many people talk about Blackstone, but I guess it actually is Blackstone that bought a lot of these single-family homes. But we've been hearing this narrative that, oh my God, the big boys, BlackRock, Blackstone, they're buying up all these single-family homes, and that's why, well, we can't get any at a reasonable price. But it seems like data is showing mom-and-pop homeowners, or rental property owners, rather, they might be the ones that are really buying up all these homes, gobbling up all of the supply, which makes it harder for the first-time home buyer to go out there and actually get a pretty good deal on a home, right? So that's a pretty eye-opening, TikTok there. Seems like that guy's coming after all the, real estate gurus out there, right? Pretty interesting. What do you guys think about that?
The millennials and Gen Zers who are complaining that they can't buy a house are not working for minimum wage. These are people making $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year who can no longer afford a house. But minimum wage workers are also complaining because they can't afford rent. If you look back to 1980, the rent was $243. Minimum wage was $3.10, meaning your monthly gross was $496. So to rent this apartment, it would be 48.9% of your gross income back in 1980. But let's fast forward to 2024. The average rent is $17.47. The federal minimum wage is $7.25, giving you $11.60. You can't even get an apartment with the federal minimum wage, but let's be generous and double the federal minimum wage, because people at Walmart and fast food joints are making $14.50 to $15. So $14.50 would bring you to $23.20. So technically you're making more, but this is your gross, and it'd be 75% of your gross income, making double the federal minimum wage in 2024. But let's take it even a step further. ZipRecruiter said that the starting pay for college graduates is $24 an hour. So that would be $38.40 a month. So someone with a bachelor's degree could afford this one-bedroom apartment, but it would be 45.4% of their gross income. A college graduate is spending the same amount of their income on rent as the minimum wage worker in 1980 did. Roughly the same. And the minimum wage worker in 1980 put on a hat, learned skills for 2 weeks, and started their job. A bachelor's degree spent 4, 5, 6 years of their life in school and $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and now have to spend the same amount of money on rent as a minimum wage worker did in 1980.
That is completely mind-blowing, guys. The fact that in 1980 you can be a minimum wage worker and get an apartment for the average rent for the time, right? It's 50% of your income in 1980 to get an apartment on a minimum wage salary. And now, fast forward, you can barely afford an apartment with a bachelor's degree, right? It's still 50% of your income with the starting, average hourly pay on a bachelor's degree, which is freaking insane. It goes to show how whacked out the financial system is, but it also goes to show how the value of a bachelor's degree has actually diminished over time. Back in 1980, if you got a degree in college, a lot of people still had degrees back then, but not nearly as many as now. It was actually worth a good amount it was worth a lot, right? Back in 1980. Nowadays, everybody and their grandma has a bachelor's degree, so it's not really used to separate one candidate from another anymore. I mean, maybe I guess if one candidate only has a high school diploma, one's got a bachelor's, all right, maybe you're differentiated in that circumstance or in that case. But for the majority of people, a lot of people have a bachelor's degree, guys, and the value of it has come down over time. And really, this goes back to show what we covered in the first video from last week regarding this topic, that wages have not gone up nearly as fast. That's the main problem, as home prices and, of course, as rents have gone up, right? Wages have not matched.
The housing market has never in the United States been as expensive as it is right now. So if you buy a house right now with the interest rate and the price of the home combined, you are paying the most ever. Yeah. But do you know what you can do instead? You can rent for a lot less and invest the difference. You can invest the difference in the stock market. Yeah. Say, for example, you're going to buy a $700,000 or $800,000 house and your payment's going to be $6,000 or $7,000. You can probably rent that place for about $3,000. Yeah, and save yourself $3-4 grand a month, and take that money and invest it. You know, it doesn't make any sense to get into a market when it's at its all-time high. It just doesn't make sense.
Now, I sure am loving that advice, guys. I'm a big stock market guy. I actually have another YouTube channel called Stas Talk Stocks. We have about 40,000 subscribers on that YouTube channel. I'm very involved in the stock market in general, and I completely agree with this guy's advice, right? Number one, it's way cheaper to rent now than it is to buy a home. Way cheaper, pretty much in every place, every state across the country, right? So if you can actually rent for a lot cheaper than you can buy a house, it makes sense to actually rent, save the difference. So let's say, for example, you rent for $3,000, like he said, or you can buy a house for $6,000 a month. Save that $3,000 difference, right? Invest it, or even save it. Save it in a high-yield savings account so that money can grow over time. And then when, the housing market becomes more affordable, you then can take out some money from your stocks or your savings that you were, saving that difference again between the mortgage and rent. You're better off renting. Then you can take that money and actually go and buy a house. It makes sense. And listen to Dave Ramsey here, guys. He doesn't think necessarily we're going to get cheaper real estate prices. Let's take a look.
I promise you, you can look up this particular YouTube 5 years from now and you're going to go, yeah, that old fart was right again. Median house price, all-time high in history right now. And you thought 2020 was crazy. And you thought 2021 was crazy. I'm telling you, I'm not predicting it to go nuts again, but the idea that some of you are still sitting around waiting on this market to correct is hilariously stupid. You're that wrong. Dave, that's not going to age well. Hey, I've aged pretty well in general. There's a couple things I've missed it on, but I pretty much call it on a lot of these things. Prices are going to go up. Rates are going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. They always have, and they always will. Let me tell you guys, this is what's happening with real estate.
So there you have it. Dave Ramsey thinks that real estate prices over time are going to continue to go up. In this video, he said over the next 5 years, which he's probably right. Over the next 5 years from now, 2024 to 2029, yes, real estate prices are most likely going to trend up overall. But what's going to happen between now and 2029? Will we get a correction? Will we get a real estate crash, right? Will we get a 20% drop in prices before going up by 2029? That's the thing. He's saying in 5 years it's going to go up, continue to go up on average. But within the next 5 years, during that time, I feel like we might get a correction, maybe a drop in prices. Am I crazy? What do you guys think? So let's do one more here, guys. And by the way, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe here on the YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys. Let's take a look.
The cost of housing is astronomical, but what happened in the past 4 years is the problem. Check out the difference between 1995 to 2019 to 2023. So the complaining from us millennials started probably 2020, but this is why. So in 1995, the average house was $130,000. You put down 20%, that's $26,000. The interest rates were 7.8% back in 1995, and your principal and mortgage would be around $753. Now I'm going to save the average incomes for last. Now, 2019, $260,000. Not bad over 25 years. It only doubled. So the down payment would be $52,000, and there was only a 4% interest rate. So the monthly payment for principal and interest was $993. So this difference was not bad at all. Here's where the jump happens. This is what, okay, 2023, the average home jumped to $419,000. The down payment would be $84,000. The interest rate was similar to 95, which is 7.24%, but that would leave you with a monthly payment of $2,283. Now let's go with the average incomes. In 1995, it was $29,000. In 2019, it was $56,000. In 2023, it is still $56,000. So in 1995, 31% of your income could be used for housing. You could get it into a house. In 2019, it was only 21% of your income. In 2023, it is 49% of your income, plus the cost of living, plus the cost of groceries. So the past 4 years is the problem. This is why millennials and first-time homebuyers are complaining now, because the disparity between 95 and 2019 over 25 years was not that big of a deal. It was moving like it was supposed to.
Oh man, that right there is insane, right? So think about that. Over 25 years, from 95, whatever that example was, to 2019, right? Housing prices, they went up, but not a crazy amount. They doubled over 25 years, which is common. That's normal, right? But now they've almost doubled again in the past 4 years. Yes, and the average income, the average salary has stayed the same at $56,000 freaking dollars, guys. This is insane, and it goes back to what I've been saying in these videos. Wages, salaries have not been keeping up with the housing prices, inflation in general, groceries, you name it, you name it. Everything has gone up, it seems like, more than the average salary has gone up in the United States. And this is why he said it perfectly. Millennials, first-time home buyers, right? People are having a very hard time right now. Harder than ever before. It's harder right now to buy a home than ever before. That's the reality, guys. And I would do anything. I would do anything to go back to those 2019 prices. And really, the pandemic, the stimulus, that screwed up everything in terms of the housing prices, right? 2020, 2021, that completely destroyed everything. I guarantee if we never had a pandemic, a lockdown, all the stimulus, the average home right now would be like $350 or $325 or something like that. Much more reasonable than the well over $400,000 home on average that we're seeing right now. So guys, these are crazy times that we're living in. What do you think about all of this? Let me know down below in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button and to subscribe, of course. Make sure to subscribe. And with that being said, cheers. I'll catch you guys in the next video.